Blair froze, his face turning pale as he stammered. You already solved it? Brittany looked surprised as she placed the pouch of coins into his hand. Yes, but why do you look so down? Blair's face darkened with regret. My money. Tears welled up in his eyes as he forced a strained smile. No, I'm just so happy I could cry. He screamed inwardly, of all things to guard against. I didn't guard against someone in my own house. Brittany cheerfully linked arms with him. Well then, let's go. Chicken and potatoes. Here we come. It's been so long since I had roasted chicken with potatoes. Blair responded, sure, while thinking to himself. Looks like I'll have to keep an eye on Brittany if I want my money-making plans to succeed. He opened the curtains and saw a clear blue sky. Today, I'll head out before 2 p.m. Blair crept around cautiously, murmuring, if I leave early and come back right after, Brittany should still be sleeping. This time, she won't have a reason to follow me. He closed the door with satisfaction. Perfect. Half the plan is already a success. The problem he planned to post this time was far harder than the previous butterfly theorem one. It had multiple layers, each requiring additional proofs, and involved a mixture of broad, complex concepts, with one hand holding the problem set and the other gripping a heavy coin pouch. Blair smiled with determination. This time, there's no way Brittany can solve it. Later, he opened the pouch. Here's 50 gold coins. Take them. His face was stiff, eyes burning with resolve. This is everything I've saved, scraped together from every corner. If this gamble doesn't pay off, I'm done. The silver-haired clerk looked at him suspiciously. You're sure? You really want to offer a 50 gold reward for this problem? Blair shoved the pouch into his hands. Of course. Take it already. I've got to go buy groceries. Then he turned and walked off, humming to himself. Ah, we commoners, today's a fine day. The clerk weighed the pouch, frowning. Weird, I hope he didn't steal this. 3 days later, the skies turned dark. Blair held the printed problem in his hands, smiling confidently. My efforts paid off. The bounty has already reached 200 gold coins. Today's the day I reel it all in. He tiptoed toward the door. Outside, thunder rumbled. From within the house, Brittany called out, Blair? Where are you going so early? Startled, he blurted out the first excuse that came to mind, to buy food. If I don't go early, all the fresh stuff will be gone. He rushed out and shut the door behind him. Brittany narrowed her eyes. Suspicious. Strange. Going grocery shopping but didn't take the basket? And why so sneaky? Meanwhile, Blair dashed toward the math association. 200 gold coins. I'm coming for you. But when he arrived, the posted problem was gone. Blair panicked. Where's my problem? The silver-haired clerk waved at him with a smile. Congrats, Blair. Your problem was solved yesterday at noon. Want to see the solution process? Blair's face turned stormy as he growled. Who solved it? Mr. Abel. The clerk answered casually. Blair turned and walked into the rain, thoughts swirling. I never expected a problem involving irrational numbers would draw out even the Edward family. Because of Abel, I've lost everything, every last coin I had. He stood there in the pouring rain. At the Divine Grace Academy, we don't even have access to modern mathematics. Yet Abel solved a complex proof using only ancient knowledge. He's a genius. No doubt about it. The clerk called out, Hey Blair. It's pouring. Come inside and wait out the rain. But Blair kept walking, shoulders slumped. I admit it. I was trying to cheat the system. But who could have known I'd lose the bet? Everything I saved up is gone. I can't even buy food now. What am I supposed to tell Brittany? Suddenly, a voice spoke up. Blair? Alice appeared, holding an umbrella over him. Did you forget to bring one? I was just heading to the math association to submit a paper for my mentor. Come in and wait out the rain with me. Blair looked at her and replied. All right, thinking. When one door closes, at least a window opens. Heaven hasn't completely abandoned me. Inside, Alice closed her umbrella and asked, Blair, why have you been so quiet? Is there something you want to tell me? Blair blushed, grinning awkwardly. All right, I'll just say it. Please don't get mad, even if you don't agree. I hope we can still be friends. Startled but excited, Alice quickly nodded. Go on, I won't get mad. Could it be? She thought, feeling triumphant. Blair, you finally realized I'm the one who really matters to you. Didn't you? Blair said. Senior Alice, would you be willing? Before he could finish, Alice interrupted with a flustered, I do. Blair beamed. Great, I knew you were generous. So, can I borrow 20 gold coins? Alice's expression froze. Wait, you just want to borrow money? Blair nodded earnestly. Exactly, but if that's too much, 6 gold coins would be fine too. Alice shoved his hand away and stormed off. Blair looked at the coins in his hand and sighed. So it's true, money really does ruin relationships. I only asked for 6 gold coins. And she's already upset. Then someone pointed at him. That's Blair. Calvin introduced him to a crowd. That's right. This is the winner of this year's Edwin Prize. The one who discovered the irrational number, Mr. Blair. A blonde man sneered. The winner of the Edwin Prize for the Kingdom of Nolan, yet still borrowing money to get by? What a joke. Calvin panicked, trying to defend him. No, that's just. But Blair interrupted, frowning in annoyance. Who even are you? The man turned away, waving to his group. Let's go. Let's see if the prize board at the Aba City Math Association has anything worth our time. In unison, the group responded. Asterisk asterisk, yes. Captain. Blair clenched his fists and shouted. Hey, don't you people know basic manners? He thought bitterly. Is this my unlucky day or what? Even passers-by are stepping on me now? Suddenly, Calvin grabbed his arm urgently. Blair, you have to listen. Only you can help me now. No, only you can save the Kingdom of Nolan. Blair lowered his head in frustration and sighed. Lord Calvin, I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Don't talk about saving the Kingdom of Nolan. Right now I can barely take care of myself. Calvin clenched his fists, his expression earnest. No, I'm not joking. If you don't step up, the honor of the entire Kingdom of Nolan will be lost, and I'll become a traitor to the nation. Blair looked confused. A traitor? What happened? In a panic, Calvin grabbed his hand and suddenly knelt down. Lack than, I beg you, please save me. Blair was shocked and shouted. Don't be ridiculous, stand up. Calvin looked pitiful, his eyes shining with tears. I'll only get up if you agree to help me. Blair was speechless, the corner of his mouth twitching. Since when did you learn to force deals like this? Fine, stand up and tell me the whole story first. Then I'll know how to help. At that moment, Brittany walked in and was startled. Blair? And, Calvin, what are you two doing? Both men froze in guilt-stricken silence. Calvin stood up awkwardly and pointed at Blair to explain. Ah, Miss Brittany, just now I almost slipped. Luckily, Mr. Blair happened to be passing by and caught me. Otherwise, who knows how badly I would have fallen. Blair scratched his head and added awkwardly. Yes, that's right, I was just going out to buy groceries. But suddenly it started pouring. So I ran to the Mathematics Association to take shelter from the rain. Then I saw President Calvin slip and helped him. Brittany gave a strained smile. Oh, I see. Never mind then. I actually came to the Mathematics Association for an important conference. Blair, come with me. In a private room, she said with a thoughtful frown. How could this happen? Scholar Gia visited before. Her level is very high, but she never solved all the bounty problems from across the kingdom. Calvin added, that's because the Kingdom of Nolan accumulated 23 of the most difficult and profound problems over many years. But Lackden has solved them all. He then continued with a troubled tone. Although other cities have begun putting up their own bounty problems, none of them come close in difficulty to those 23. That's why Scholar Gia has swept through our country's problems without a challenge. The room buzzed with discussion. What should we do now? The Apo City Mathematics branch is their final stop. If we can't produce a problem to challenge them, the reputation of Nolan's mathematical community will be in ruins. This isn't just a contest of math, it's a battle between empires. After all, the Os Empire and the Far Empire have always been rivals. Nolan is a vassal of Os. If we lose to Gia, who represents Far, the consequences will be unthinkable. Calvin turned to the others in desperation. Is there really nothing we can do? Blair, meanwhile, was glaring at Abel, muttering bitterly in his mind. He's here. My 50 gold coins must be on him. Suddenly, someone called out. Blair. It was Brittany. She looked at him and asked, do you have any ideas? Then, as if thinking of something, she stood up and smiled awkwardly. Forget it. Pretend I didn't say anything. Blair asked in confusion. Miss Brittany, what did you want to say? She frowned and walked off, replying, nothing. Let's just go home and cook. I'm starving. Everyone left the room, discouraged. What should we do now? It's over. Calvin also stood up, slamming his hand on the table and sighing. Such a shame, even with the 5.000 gold coin reward posted by His Majesty. No one can stop Scholar Gia? The mention of 5.000 gold coins struck Blair like lightning. His eyes turned into golden coins. Calvin, dejected, asked, is giving up really our only option? Then Blair suddenly said, no, we still have a chance. Brittany and Abel both turned to him in surprise. Calvin eagerly grabbed his hand. I knew it, you must have a way. Lord Blair. Blair straightened up, regaining his composure after being flattered. Of course, earlier you said that if I can stop those Gia scholars, the king will award 5.000 gold coins, right? He grinned. Of course, money doesn't matter. What's important is restoring Nolan's glory. A noble cause no one could refuse. Calvin nodded. Yes, His Majesty is very invested in the Apo branch's outcome. If the Gia-Na scholars leave unchallenged, Nolan will become the laughingstock of the mathematical world. Lord Blair, if we are to win, we must win with dignity. We can't resort to dirty tricks. Do you really have a perfect solution? Blair placed a reassuring hand on Calvin's shoulder. Don't worry, making those proud Gia-Na scholars stumble here is no problem. I even have confidence they'll never leave Apo again. Calvin beamed with joy. Wonderful. Quickly, tell us your plan. Blair raised a finger. Not so fast, I have one condition. Abel asked in confusion. Lord Blair, please speak. Blair pointed at him. I want him, Abel, to give me 50 gold coins. Abel replied dryly. Truly worthy of the nickname, Demonic Blair. Always acting unexpectedly. Fine, if you can really save the honor of Nolan's mathematics, I'll even give you 200 extra gold coins. Blair stepped forward and shook his hand. Declining. Thank you, but I only need 50. Abel reluctantly agreed. All right, I accept. Blair thought to himself. I just want back the 50 coins that rightfully belong to me. Then I can let this go. He smiled and said, all right, let's get some paper. After some diligent writing, Blair completed 3 problem sheets. Calvin picked them up and looked skeptical. Lord Blair, are you serious? These 3 geometry problems look far too simple. Brittany quickly snatched them from his hands. Let me see. She read aloud. Divide any given angle into 3 equal parts. Given the area of a circle, construct a cube with equal volume. Given the volume of one cube, construct another whose volume is exactly double. Hearing the questions, a few people commented, these are basic geometry problems. Simple ones like this can't possibly stump the Gia-Na scholars. Brittany looked at Blair with concern. Blair, they're not wrong. These problems really do seem too simple. Do you want to reconsider and choose harder ones? Blair calmly lifted his pen and said, Miss Brittany, everyone, please don't dismiss them so quickly. Pick up your pens and try them yourselves. The sheets contained diagrams of classic geometry. Blair thought to himself, angled trisection, squaring the circle, and doubling the cube. These are the infamous ancient Greek problems. They may look simple, but once someone actually attempts them, the horror begins. For 2,000 years, countless mathematicians had tried to solve them with only a compass and straightedge. But it was eventually proven, they are impossible to solve with classical tools alone. Blair looked at the sheets and smiled confidently. Outside, night fell. A bright moon hung in the sky. Inside, Brittany was tugging at her hair in frustration. What the heck? The calculations are right, so why doesn't it work? Blair called out gently. Miss Brittany. He walked up behind her, draped a coat over her shoulders, and said, it's getting late, let's rest for tonight. The Gia-Na scholars will still be here for a few more days. We can deal with it tomorrow. Brittany looked at him softly. All right, I'll listen to you this time. The two of them had only taken a few steps when Abel's voice stopped them. Lord Blair, please wait a moment. Inside the brightly lit room, Abel sat with a grim expression, gripping the sheet of paper in his hand. Sir Blair, these 3 problems, they look simple. But, are they unsolvable? Blair simply smiled and replied calmly. Think it over a little more. Abel's face darkened. His eyes gleamed maliciously as he crumpled the paper. Blair, just what kind of person are you? On a long street, Brittany walked beside him, still unsure. Blair, are those 3 problems truly unsolvable? Yep, he said nonchalantly, with only a straightedge and compass. It's impossible to solve them. Whether it's Abel or those Gia-Na scholars, if they want answers, they'll need another 2,000 years. 2,000 years? She muttered. Dazed. The night passed. Morning came. Brittany took a sip from her cup, then leaned back with a satisfied sigh. I'm full. Blair, your cooking really is amazing. He pouted while cleaning up. So now I'm just the house chef. Huh. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Sir Blair. Blair turned toward the sound. Brittany got up, recognizing the voice. Looks like Chairman Calvin couldn't wait. I'll go get the door. After inviting him in and pouring a cup of hot tea, Blair said, take your time, warm up with some tea first. But Calvin clutched Blair's arm tightly. Frowning, Sir Blair, tell me honestly, those 3 problems? Blair understood and spoke reassuringly. I know what you're worried about. But trust me. Then he stated clearly, those 3 problems are unsolvable. Calvin relaxed and sighed in relief. Good, just as I hoped. Now I can rest easy. He bowed respectfully. Sir Blair, you are truly a savior of Nolan. Once this is over, I'll personally report your service to His Majesty. Blair responded modestly. No need. As long as the king keeps his word. That's enough. Do as you see fit. Rest assured. Calvin smiled. His Majesty will never go back on his word. I'll be on my way to check on the Gia scholars now. Farewell. All right, take care, Blair replied. As Calvin left and walked down the road, a disheveled youth ran toward him. Chairman Calvin, are we really going through with those questions? What if the Gia scholars actually solved them? What then? Calvin looked at him and placed a steady hand on his shoulder. Don't worry. These 3 problems, there's no what if. Have you forgotten why Blair is known as a math demon? He clenched his fist. Let those arrogant bastards feel just how terrifying Blair the demon really is. At the Mathematics Guild, snow blanketed the rooftops. Calvin pushed open the door. Friends from Gia, where are you heading? The team leader stood, replying, we've been guests long enough. Since we've solved all the difficult problems from the Apo Guild, there's no reason to stay. A scholar with glasses added smugly. We'll be heading home today. Calvin forced a smile and offered a handshake. Oh, how could you say that? You've solved so many problems for Nolan. We're grateful to have had you here. The scholar replied arrogantly. We were just earning some travel money. No big deal. After the handshake, Calvin said, well, as it happens, the Apo branch has just posted a few new reward problems. The prize isn't bad. Surely the Gia team wouldn't mind earning a bit more travel money? Of course, the scholar said confidently. That'd be great. Calvin handed over the paper. Here you are. The problems read. Asterisk divide an arbitrary angle into 3 equal parts. Asterisk given the area of a circle. Construct a cube with the same surface area. Asterisk given the volume of a cube. Construct another cube with exactly double the volume. After reading them, Duangan looked confused. Chairman Calvin, are you serious? Just these 3? Calvin gestured to someone bringing paper and pencils. Yes, the materials are ready. Please, go ahead. Duangan smiled slyly. Of course, but before we begin, I have a small request. A personal wish. He thought, these kinds of problems? Looks like the Apo scholars have given up. But whatever. There's nothing left here worth staying for anyway. Calvin nodded. Alright, what is it? Duangan's thoughts drifted to the mysterious figure who once solved problems so brilliantly that he made others fall to their knees, Tran Lak. A mathematical genius who didn't rely on existing theorems, but created new ones just to solve the problem in front of him. In one challenge, he simultaneously proved 3 brand new theorems, and these theorems worked universally. He clenched the paper, thinking, 3 new theorems, applicable in any condition. Sir Duangan? Calvin called again. Seeing his dazed expression, Duangan jolted back to reality and coughed awkwardly. Ahem, what I meant to say is, I would like to meet this Mr. Tran Lak. Could the guild introduce me? Calvin hesitated, then answered reluctantly, I'm afraid I must disappoint you. He shrugged helplessly. It's not that we don't want to. It's just, Master Tran Lak is incredibly elusive. No one has ever seen his real face, not even us. All we know is that he's from Nolan. But who he is or where he's from, no idea. Duangan sighed. Well, that's a pity. Later, as they began attempting the problems, a young man approached with arms crossed. Well, any progress? A brown-haired youth replied. Just give us a little more time. Captain, we're close. Duangan smiled and said smoothly. Then hurry up, don't delay our departure. Calvin, watching, smiled and asked, Sir Duangan, are you really leaving today? Duangan placed a bundle of keys on the table. Once these 3 problems are solved, we'll be on our way. These are the hotel keys. Please return them for us. Certainly, Calvin said, handing them to an aide. Then, turning to a guild member, he whispered, extend their stay by another month. Time passed. The chandelier glowed overhead. Suddenly, Duangan's face twisted in disbelief. He grabbed his hair and shouted, what the hell? What are these problems? He slammed the table and stood up. Furious. Chairman Calvin, where is he? Audrey handed over a bag and said, Sir Duangan, Vice Chairman Calvin had to leave for some business. Before he left, he told me to give this bag to you. Duangan looked irritated. Who are you? With a calm demeanor, the man introduced himself. Ah, I forgot to mention, I'm Audrey, also a vice chairman of the mathematics division in Apo City. If you need anything, feel free to speak to me. Duangan took the bag and said, then I'll trouble you for something. Audrey asked politely, and what might that be? Sir Duangan? But Duangan's expression turned dark. He opened the bag, and after checking inside, clenched it tightly and gritted his teeth. Nothing. What's the point of saying anything? As Duangan stormed off, Audrey waved cheerfully and reminded, Sir Duangan, it's late, don't forget to get some rest. Watching the team still struggling with the problems, Duangan furiously slammed the bag down. Pens, paper, and a set of keys spilled out. Do you even understand what it means to trisect an angle? You're treating this like dividing it a million times. Do you know how hard it is to trisect a single damn angle? You all seriously disappoint me, he roared. The team flinched and trembled in fear. A panicked voice spoke up. Captain, just give us a bit more time. Enough, Duan barked. He snatched a pen and growled. Give me that, I'll do it myself. But a moment later, damn it, why won't it work? Duan flipped the papers into the air, his eyes wide with madness, screaming like a man possessed. The others were stunned, trying to calm him down. These 3 problems, they're not easy. Let's try stepping away from conventional methods. But Duan shook his head violently. No, if we give up here, everything we've worked for will have been in vain. Meanwhile, Audrey was in his office, organizing papers. He stared at a particular sheet of paper, deep in thought. The 3 great problems of Blair. The demon of Nolan, he muttered. Calvin walked in and saw him so focused. Audrey, what's got you so absorbed? Audrey looked up with a smile. Just thinking. The Gia scholars have been stuck in Apo for 3 months now. Even the newspapers are talking about it. As far as I know, they've made 0 progress. He chuckled. Looks like we've finally defended the honor of Nolan's Mathematics Society. Calvin sighed, exhausted. Even you think that way now? How did things come to this? Audrey replied, isn't it true? Calvin held up a crumpled piece of paper. Right now, all we've done is barely maintain our dignity. But the truth is, ever since the Gia Academy steamrolled through Nolan's mathematics circles, our honor was already lost. He crushed the paper and tossed it into the trash. Audrey spoke up. Gia level has always been above ours. If not for Lord Blair, Nolan would have been utterly humiliated. I think this outcome is already the best we could hope for. Then Audrey slammed the table excitedly. Wait, why did I forget about Lord Tranlac? If Lord Tranlac is willing, Nolan could immediately replace Gia as the new mathematics capital of the continent. Calvin took a sip of tea, chuckling. With ambition that big, you better start saving money. Who knows, maybe once you've saved up $1 million, Lord Lack will suddenly appear. Later, in the guest room, Calvin sat across from Blair and respectfully bowed. Sir Blair, on behalf of the mathematics scholars of Nolan, and the people of Nolan, I thank you for your great contributions. Blair waved his hand quickly. No, please, I'm also a citizen of Nolan. This was something I should have done. Oh right, has the 5.000 arrived yet? Calvin sat down, smiling. Don't worry, the king has already sent the reward. As soon as the Gia scholars leave Apo, we'll deliver it to you. Blair leaned on his hand, deep in thought. What if those stubborn Gia scholars keep hammering away at the problems and refuse to leave for 8 or 10 years? That 5.000 might never mean anything to me at this rate. I need to figure out a way to make them leave sooner. Calvin, imagining the situation, began to grin smugly. Truthfully, even in this clash with Gia, we still lost. But if we could stir up trouble in their mathematics associations, or shake the very foundation of their academic theories, if we manage even one of those, we could turn this defeat into a victory. Blair sighed and smiled. Why didn't you say so earlier? That's not a problem at all. Shaking the foundations of a mathematical school? Now that's my specialty. Calvin was stunned, then burst up in excitement. What, did I hear that right? You're serious? Blair nodded calmly. Yes, undermining the Gia school's foundation is no big deal. It's just, Calvin leaned forward. Just what? Say it. Blair held up his fingers and smiled. It'll cost extra. Calvin blinked, stunned. Did I just hear what I think I heard? Then he burst out laughing, extended his hand, and said, all right, Sir Blair, for saving Apo and Nolan's honor. On behalf of the Nolan Mathematics Association, I'll add 2.000 more. How's that? Blair shook his hand. Deal. Calvin looked out into the dark night and whispered in awe. Terrifying? The moon hung high in the sky. Calvin could feel time and history flowing around him as he stood frozen, lost in thought. The problems that Lord Tranlac proposed, they're no longer just mathematical problems. They touch on philosophy, science, even the very nature of time and space. If they ever get published, it won't just shake Gia, it will shake the entire mathematical world like never before. He stared down at his hand. Deal. As he closed the window, Audrey suddenly burst in, pale and breathless, holding a letter. This is terrifying. Audrey slammed the letter onto the table. His face was red with rage as he shouted. This is a letter from the royal capital. It says the kingdom of Gia is publicly commending their scholars for their interviews in major newspapers, bragging about how they've taken the mathematical world of Nolan by storm. Now no one even mentions their setbacks during the Apo visit. Calvin picked up the letter and read aloud. Gia Na triumphs. Nolan falls. Audrey clenched his fists in frustration. We've still lost, he muttered bitterly. If only we had released those 3 difficult problems right when their delegation entered Nolan, stopped them in their tracks, then it would be us on top. Gia Na would be the one who lost. Calvin's expression turned grim. Who said we've lost? Audrey looked surprised. What? Calvin raised his sharp eyes and frowned. His voice steady and forceful. The competition isn't over yet. How can we admit defeat so easily? If Gia Na made the first move, then don't blame me for not being polite. They're headed for hell. With that, he turned and walked away. Sometime later, a crumpled sheet of paper hit the head of a brown-haired young man. He groaned in frustration. This is driving me crazy, it's still wrong. A square glasses-wearing student approached and advised. Still trying? You're just wasting time. Why not go take a shower and sleep? But the one in round glasses burst out angrily, waving his arms. What do you know? I'm this close, just a little more. The square glasses student sighed. You said the same thing yesterday. The round glasses student ruffled his hair in despair. Why can't I solve such a simple problem? What's wrong with me? I'm really going crazy. Duanan waved over and said. All right, Ben Sam, take him out for a walk. If this goes on, no one will be able to focus on solving the other problems. Van Sam frowned and forcibly dragged the young man away. Let's go. I can still solve it, the student cried, gripping his pen as he was dragged off. Don't take me away. As they passed a bulletin board with reward problems, the student suddenly noticed something. Wait, Van Sam, stop. Look, there's a new problem posted. They both stopped and stared at it closely. The student read aloud. If a turtle gets a head start on Achilles, how long will it take Achilles to catch up? He scoffed. Why is such a simple problem even on the reward board? As long as it gives the turtle speed, Achilles' speed, and their distance. Even my 8-year-old nephew could solve this in minutes. This is way too basic. But Van Sam studied it with a serious face. The name listed here is Blair from Apo. That means it's definitely not a simple question. Look closely. The student frowned. What trick could there be in such a simple setup? A gust of wind blew, revealing a paper beneath the problem. The student blinked in surprise. Oh, there is a trick. Van Sam flipped the paper and read. Sir Blair claims that no matter how fast Achilles is, he can never catch the turtle. The student couldn't help himself. He laughed out loud. Ridiculous. Forget the great wind mage Achilles of Gianna. Even my 8-year-old nephew could catch a turtle. Slap. Van Sam smacked him hard. You idiot. If even your nephew knows that, don't you think the demon Blair does too? The student rubbed his head in frustration. You're right, but that still doesn't solve anything. Just then, someone holding a small turtle walked over. My friends from Gianna, Calvin said cheerfully. Did you run into some trouble? Van Sam quickly replied. Chairman Calvin, we truly can't understand Sir Blair's solution to the turtle problem. Please enlighten us. Calvin smiled slyly. So that's it, as far as I know. The idea that time and space can be infinitely divided is a core tenet of the Gianna school of thought. Right? But have you ever considered whether that theorem is actually true? The student angrily stepped forward to argue. What are you saying? The notion that time and space can be infinitely divided isn't just our school's idea. It's widely accepted in mathematics, science, and even across the entire Divine Grace continent. Van Sam held him back. Chairman Calvin, what does that have to do with Blair's turtle problem? Please, don't go in circles. Just say it clearly. Calvin calmly set the turtle down. My friends from Gianna, you're mistaken. This isn't a question to be answered. Let me explain. When I chase the turtle, it also moves forward. By the time I reach where the turtle started, it's already moved ahead. Then, by the time I reach that next point, it's again moved forward slightly. So the distance keeps getting smaller, but it never becomes zero. Therefore, if we divide the process into infinite small steps, then logically, I can never catch it. Isn't that right? After speaking, Calvin smiled smugly. The student scratched his head in a panic, face flushed, stammering, but time and space can be infinitely divided. But if that's true, then Achilles really can't catch the turtle? That doesn't make sense. Van Sam looked gloomy. He tried to deny it. Blair's obviously spouting nonsense. Of course Achilles can catch a turtle. But if that's true, then the foundation of our Gianna school, our entire belief system, is wrong. The student tore the paper down from the board, crumpling it in his fist and shouting. No, I don't believe it. This has to be wrong. I'll go talk to Captain Duanan. He'll definitely know where the flaw is. Calm down, Len, Van Sam called after him. As the two chased each other off, Calvin sighed. At this point, it's not just the Gia scholars going insane, I might go crazy too. Inside a building, someone was shouting, "He's a demon, he's truly a demon." Duangan slammed his desk, roaring in anger. If time and space can be infinitely divided, then how do we explain the process of catching up? He looked nearly mad as he raged. On the other hand, if time and space can't be infinitely divided, then are you saying there's some smallest possible unit of time and distance in this world? That makes no sense either. Nearby, the little turtle nervously raised its head. Calvin rested his chin on his hand, staring at the turtle, thinking to himself, how the hell do you use math to explain how Achilles catches the turtle? Suddenly, Audrey burst in, flustered. You're still here playing with a turtle? The Gia scholars are all about to flee, don't you realize that? Calvin replied nonchalantly. They're stuck. They can't solve the problem or explain the turtle paradox. If it were me, I'd run too. He fell into deep thought. Since the turtle question was posted, the Gia school has been backed into a corner. The longer they stay, the more questions they'll face. But we're no better, we still can't answer it ourselves. Except, that one person. Audrey slammed the table in frustration. What's with your attitude? The capital has already sent 3 letters asking about this turtle problem. And now you're just going to let Gia run away? Who's going to explain it to the king then? Calvin suddenly stood up, startling Audrey. He placed a hand on Audrey's shoulder and said confidently, if you want an explanation, prepare 7.000 gold. Right now, come with me. Soon, night fell. At Third Brother's house, 3 treasure chests filled with gold were opened. Upon seeing them, his eyes sparkled as he drooled in awe. Money? So much money? I'm rich. A voice called out. Sir Blair? Sir Blair. Blair snapped out of his trance, rubbing his head and replying sheepishly. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Calvin looked at him seriously. Sir Blair, I want to know, that turtle question. What is it really about? Blair sat in his chair, deep in thought. Zeno's paradox, the conundrum of the tortoise, wasn't merely a mathematical question. Remembering the paradox and the tortoise, he told himself, even if I can present a mathematical answer, I still can't explain the true nature of the problem. After all, it involves the concept of limits. He imagined the young man endlessly chasing the tortoise. From a physics perspective, I'd have to bring in quantum mechanics. But here on the Divine Grace continent, even classical mechanics hasn't been established yet. If I try to introduce too advanced a concept, it might just drive people insane. Blair sighed, picturing quantum particles orbiting around a central nucleus. If I reverse the roles and try to impose future knowledge here too recklessly, it could cause a disaster. He spoke up frankly. To be honest, I really don't know. But internally, he added, even if I gave you an answer, you wouldn't understand it. Worse, it might drive you mad. Better to just say I don't know. Calvin exclaimed in disbelief. You must be joking. Lord of Inspiration, how could someone capable of raising such a problem not be able to solve it? Hearing the title slip from Calvin's mouth, Blair's face flushed, and he shouted, what did you just call me? Blair pressed a finger to his lips. Watch your words. Calvin, realizing his mistake, Calvin quickly covered his mouth and gestured apologetically. Understood. Then, rubbing his fingers together, Calvin pleaded, Sir Blair, we're willing to pay more. Please consider it again. Blair was momentarily dazzled by the motion, his mind wavering. He coughed and forced himself to stay composed. Don't drag me into this, I really don't know. This isn't a money issue. Don't drag me into this, I really don't know. This isn't a money issue. Calvin sighed and stood up. Very well, I'll take my leave. As he turned to go, he thought to himself, even offering more money couldn't move the Lord of Inspiration. Seems I won't get the answer I sought. How am I going to explain this back in the capital? Blair walked him to the door and waved. Take care, Chairman Calvin. As Calvin made a final offer, Sir Blair, how about 5,000 more? Blair ignored him and slammed the door shut. Leaning against the door, Blair let out a long sigh. That was close. I almost gave in. Some money just isn't worth earning. He thought to himself, if I disregard the current level of understanding on this continent and force advanced concepts onto people, it'll only end in disaster. His brow furrowed with frustration. Suddenly, a voice called from outside. Blair, come quickly. He opened the door. What is it? Brittany turned and beamed at him. I have an idea about the tortoise problem. If the number of divisions approaches infinity, wouldn't the last step be so small it could be considered zero? Seeing her joyfully explain her idea, Blair watched her seriously. From the moment I released Zeno's tortoise into the world, some things began moving beyond my control. Even if I do nothing, someone else will pick up the thread, just like Brittany is doing now. She's already begun to approach the idea of limits. He watched as a blue butterfly fluttered past. Even without me, the scholars of this world will, sooner or later, establish these theories and find their own path into the sanctuary of modern science. While he stood lost in thought, Brittany pouted. Blair, I've been talking all this time, were you even listening? Snapping out of it, he stammered. Why yeah, I was listening. She leaned closer with a mischievous grin. Then tell me, what does this final step mean? He looked like a clueless kitten. Just then, Isabella's voice called out cheerfully. Blair, Brittany, are you two home? Blair rushed out, flustered. Yes, we're here. Isabella. Brittany sighed, disappointed. He really wasn't listening. Isabella blushed slightly. Did he think what I said was too simple? Well, he is smart. Maybe he's already thought of everything I said. What was he thinking about just now? Was he thinking about me? When she looked up and saw 3 gold-filled trunks stacked like mountains, she gasped. Where did all this come from? Blair, don't tell me you robbed the treasury in Apo City? He walked over and scratched his head sheepishly. That's my reward from the spring festival break. Anyway, why are you back already? Brittany stepped up, holding some papers. Isabella, you're back? I think I found a new set of numbers. Blair coughed pointedly to interrupt. He turned to them with a forced smile. If school starts tomorrow, then let's not stay cooped up today. Let's go for a stroll. Today's shopping spree is on me. Isabella beamed and dragged Brittany out the door. Let's go. Brittany, he's offering to spend money on us. That never happens. Hurry before he changes his mind. Brittany sighed. Wait, I haven't even finished calculating. Blair's eyes sparkled with tears. Wait for me. A few days later, in the classroom, Isabella sat reading a document. Blair walked over. Looking for me? Another tough problem you can't solve? She propped her chin on her hand, sighed, and handed him a form. It's not a problem, just the preference form for choosing our advanced training institute after graduation. I don't know which one to pick among the 5 major academies in the capital. He glanced at it and replied casually. What's there to hesitate about? Just pick the one you like best. With your ability, you'll get into any of them. Annoyed, she yanked the form back. You don't get it at all. Never mind, I'm not asking you anymore. Blair stayed calm. You called me over just to ask this? I can't choose your future for you. Frustrated, she asked. Then tell me, what academy are you applying to after graduation? He looked awkward. I already told you, I'm not going anywhere. I plan to stay here. She turned away, face flushing red, muttering angrily. Forget it. Clearly, all you care about is Brittany. Go away, I need to be alone. As Blair walked down the hallway, he was confused. What's going on with her? Could it be that time of the month? Suddenly, someone called out, Junior Blair. He turned and saw Alice blushing. She nervously held out a letter. Blair, I wanted to tell you something. She lowered her eyes. I've applied to an academy in the royal capital. We might not see each other for a long time, but I'll be waiting for you there. When the time comes. He gently stopped her with a hand. Wait, I'm not going to the capital. After graduation, I'll be staying in Apo City. I already told Headmaster Angus that I'll work here as a teaching assistant. Alice stood frozen, the letter slipping from her hand. What did you say? She suddenly grabbed his shoulders, trying to persuade him. With your talent, you could go anywhere in the capital. If you choose the Capital Science Academy, you could become a great scholar. If you go to the Royal Magic Institute, you're sure to become a renowned mage. Blair looked at her, startled. Senior Alice, he gently declined. I appreciate your kind intentions, but I prefer Apo City. And I've thought long and hard before making this decision. The truth is, he thought, more than Apo City, I prefer being with Brittany. If she went to the capital, I'd follow her in a heartbeat. Alice looked down, hurt. I see, don't mind me, I was just asking. I suddenly remembered something, I'll be going now. As she turned to leave, he instinctively grabbed her hand. Senior Alice, please wait. The two stood in the hallway, being held by the hand. Alice blushed furiously and thought to herself, could it be, he's finally come around? Hope lit up in her eyes. If Blair says he's willing to go with me to the capital, I'll confess right away and make our relationship official. She tucked a lock of hair behind her ear, putting on her most charming smile. Junior Blair. Blair cut in frankly. You dropped something. He cheerfully handed Alice a piece of paper and reminded her. This is important, don't lose it next time. Alice froze, stunned. Then, unable to hold back, she slapped him. She stormed off in a huff, practically steaming with frustration. Blair touched the handprint on his cheek. Puzzled, was that not it? Even Alice, who's always been graceful and composed, ended up like this? Later, in the classroom, a few students were scattered around. Isabella sat quietly, looking over her school preference form. Suddenly, the paper was snatched from her hands. She turned around in shock to see Alice. Then snapped, "Alice, what are you doing? Give that back." Alice replied nonchalantly, "What's the rush? I'm just taking a look. I'll return it." Then, noticing something, she asked in surprise, "It's blank? You haven't picked a single school? Didn't you say you wanted to apply to the Royal Magic Academy?" Isabella turned her face away and huffed. "Mind your own business. I don't want to go to the capital anymore. Okay?" Alice stared at the paper, a trace of sadness in her voice. "I didn't expect you'd go this far for Blair." "Fine, this time I admit defeat." Her cheeks flushed pink as she mumbled, on the street. Ow. Isabella, what are you doing?" Blair cried out, wincing as she twisted his ear. Completely unfazed, Isabella interrogated him. "Alice has been gone for more than 2 weeks now. And you're still not back to your senses?" Blair scrunched up in fear. "I was just spacing out. What's that got to do with Senior Alice anyway?" She didn't let go. "Oh really? At that donation banquet, Alice hugged you for nearly a full minute. She only hugged one male student. You're still hung up on her, aren't you?" Blair panicked. No. Really? It's not like that." "Ow, let go. That really hurts." Finally releasing him, Isabella crossed her arms and muttered, "Hypocrite." Tears of pain welled up in Blair's eyes as he rubbed his ear. Dejected, "You're misunderstanding again. Senior Alice was just saying a polite goodbye. I was just thinking, how can I make more money?" Trying to change the mood, Blair pointed toward a street stall with a grin. "Hey, look, any books catch your eye? I'll get you one." Still fuming, Isabella replied coolly, "Whatever." Blair picked up a book and asked the vendor, "How much for this one?" The vendor rubbed his hands together. "Ah, you got a good eye. That's our current bestseller. With that fancy cover, it'd be a perfect gift for the lovely lady with you. Just 20 gold coins." Isabella smiled proudly. "You know, I think this book's not bad at all." "Blair, what?" Blair shouted, stunned. His face darkened as he glared at the vendor. 20 gold coins for this? Why don't you just rob people?" The vendor clenched his fists and growled, "Go ask around. 20 is already the lowest price you'll find. If you can get it cheaper, I'll eat the book. And what I'm selling isn't just paper, it's knowledge. Knowledge is priceless." Blair fell silent, lowering his head. "Knowledge is priceless?" Sensing things getting tense, Isabella gently tugged his arm. "Let it go. Blair, I'll pay for it." Blair stood still, then suddenly grabbed her hand. "Come with me." She blinked. "Huh? Where to?" Seeing them walk away, the vendor quickly shouted, "Wait, fine. 10 gold. 5, just 5 coins, we'll be friends." Then he crossed his arms and sighed. "Kids these days, no respect for the rules. Think you can haggle me down that easily?" TCH. They arrived at a clothing shop. Blair eagerly pointed at a pink hat. "This one." Isabella put it on, smiling shyly. "How'd I look?" "You look beautiful," he said with a radiant smile. "I'll take it." After paying, the shopkeeper waved them off. "Thank you for shopping." Isabella looked back at him, confused. "Wait, Blair, this hat also cost 20 gold coins. Why didn't you just buy the book?" Blair replied, "Because the hat suits you. As for the money, I don't care." People passing by glanced at the couple admiringly. Isabella giggled. "Blair, you can be pretty sweet sometimes." Blair recalled what the vendor had said. He was shady, but he wasn't wrong. Books have a price, but knowledge is priceless. In this world, isn't the most valuable thing of all mathematical knowledge? He gently pulled Isabella along. "Come on, let's go home and eat." He smiled confidently. "It's time to make some serious money." Thinking about the social hierarchy, Blair reflected. In the continent of divine grace, intellectual property is protected even more strictly than in the 21st century. Here, scholars are practically equals with nobles. Money and books balance the scales. That's why books are so expensive. Only the wealthy can afford them. Over the years, countless people have been executed for violating scholars' intellectual rights. Copyright law here is advanced and brutally enforced. Offenders are hanged, left as skeletons on display. This place is a paradise for those who create knowledge. Blair lifted a glass, gazing at the geometry notes he'd written. Geometry is the mother of mathematics. It's the root of mathematical reasoning. On this continent, it's also the field scholars are most passionate about, but even now, their understanding isn't even 1/10 of modern planar geometry. He looked at his reflection in the water. "I used to teach 12th grade math. Planar geometry, from lines to circles to polygons. I could explain it all clearly and logically." When Blair stood at the podium solving geometric problems, worksheets fluttered around him like leaves. Each theorem and derivation, he could prove step by step. He had compiled mountains of exercises and even studied obscure theorems outside the textbook to keep ahead of his top students. At night, he sat at his desk, taking notes, even knowledge beyond high school. I've explored it all. Now it seems writing a comprehensive geometry book would be a big hit in divine grace. I could earn royalties and help local scholars improve their mathematical reasoning. With determination in his eyes, Blair wrote on, I'll base it on ancient Greek geometry but strip away the old relics, rewrite it into a more authoritative modern form. This will be my final contribution to the field of geometry. 2 weeks later, he was still writing, exhausted. He'd fallen asleep at his desk. Suddenly, he jolted awake. Blair, get up already. Isabella called out irritably. Isabella stormed in, glaring. I called you several times. Why didn't you? She froze when she saw Blair shirtless. His firm abs exposed, completely unfazed. Blair casually asked, I'm getting change. I'll be there in a second. Anything else? Her face turned bright red as she stammered. Why you? You hurry up. Then she slammed the door shut. Blair let out a relieved sigh. Phew, close call. If he'd reacted a second slower, Isabella would have barged in and started rambling again. Can't let her see my treasure just yet. He donned his signature black outfit and mask. His eyes gleamed. Half a month of hard work. And it's finally done. My geometry manuscript is complete. The crystallization of countless minds. Refined through Euclidean creativity. You're one of a kind. My precious masterpiece. No one in this world will be able to resist you. His cloak fluttered as he walked out confidently. Blair might be a chaos bringer who shatters beliefs and dismantles foundations, but Tran Lak is different. A god walks among mortals, spreading the gospel of knowledge. And today, it's Tran Lak's time to shine. Elsewhere, the sound of knocking echoed. Calvin frowned. Come in. Worry flickered in his eyes. Even though Lak then bailed us out last time by defeating scholar Gianna. The truth remains, the math center is falling behind. Gianna's side keeps publishing new theorems, while we have nothing. A masked figure entered and waved cheerfully. Long time no see. President Calvin, I heard you've officially been promoted to head of the Apo chapter. Congrats. Calvin turned, confused. Who are you? He narrowed his eyes. Another Lak than fanboy? Copying the outfit? Blair removed the mask and smiled. It's me, Tran Lak. Calvin blinked, then groaned. Blair, why the costume? You know I can recognize you, right? Blair explained calmly. Because today, I come not as Blair. I come to trade, as Tran Lak. Are you interested? Calvin's eyes lit up. Could it be a new theorem from Lak then? Blair placed a thick manuscript on the desk. Not a theorem, he said. A book. Calvin's hands trembled as he reached for it. May I take a look? Of course, but read fast. I've got some business to discuss after. As he flipped through the pages, Calvin was soon lost in its content. Right angles, triangles, circles, polygons, solids. It covers everything we've been trying to understand recently. And these theorems, I've never seen any of them before. All of them are original. Blair spoke up. So, what do you think? Calvin abruptly dropped to one knee. Hand on chest, eyes blazing. Lak then, you will forever be my god. Blair flinched. Hey, what are you doing? Calvin leapt up and hugged him tight, rubbing his cheek against Blair's shoulder. This book is a divine path, carved by your own hands, to lead us mortals up the mountain of mathematics. With this, Nolan will become the math capital of the world. Okay, enough rubbing. You're getting the manuscript dirty. Holding the manuscript high, Calvin shouted joyfully. This is a miracle. Every scholar in the then continent must read this. It's a divine masterpiece. Blair sighed. Why do I get the feeling he's already forgotten I'm human? He cleared his throat. Let's get down to business. I want the Mathematics Association to publish this book. What do you think is a fair price per copy? Calvin paused, then proposed. This is priceless. Even 10.000 gold coins wouldn't be too much. No, 100.000. Blair shook his head. 10 gold coins will do. 10? Calvin stammered. Blair exhaled. President Calvin, do I really seem that greedy to you? I didn't write this for money. I want the light of mathematics to shine on every corner of the then continent. For everyone to experience the beauty of math. Calvin was stunned. If you price it at 100.000 gold. Who can afford it? How can the light of math bless everyone? Calvin knelt again in reverence. Compared to this miracle of knowledge, what is money? My thinking is so narrow and selfish compared to Lak then. Blair, meanwhile, frowned. Calvin clearly doesn't understand the market. Selling it cheap in large quantities will earn more in the long run. I've done the math, he declared. Also, this will be Tran Lak's final contribution to mathematics. From today, I'll be focusing on magic. Calvin panicked. But without Lacthan's guidance, how will our math community progress? Blair thought of tireless scholars and Brittany buried in paperwork. You think too highly of me. I'm not a god. I'm just an ant, standing on the shoulders of giants from another world. He placed a hand on Calvin's shoulder and said sincerely, I believe, one day, the scholars here will find their own path through hard work. As Blair left, Calvin nearly collapsed, needing help to stay upright. Who is Blair, or rather, Lacthan? What kind of world did he come from? Could it be the divine realm itself? In a lavish palace, a figure sat on a throne, watching as attendants surrounded a glowing orb. A maid knelt. Your Highness, we've confirmed his location. He's in the ancient kingdom of Nolan. Using the name Blair. Suddenly, the orb exploded, sending maids flying. They scrambled to kneel and begged. We're sorry. During the summoning, we failed to properly calibrate the timeline. Please punish us. A white-haired woman stood, gazing down coldly. Recalibrate it. I want to meet him personally. Yes, Your Highness. She licked her lips with interest. At last, this world begins to stir once more.